Welcome to Richie Rich Stories. Please subscribe, like the videos, and turn on the notifications.
Tonight, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about an idea so dangerous, so brilliant, it forced the world to rethink what value really is.
No CEO, no headquarters, no country. Just code, a mysterious creator, and a network that never sleeps. Quick disclaimer, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. This is the story of Bitcoin. Let's begin. And now, I'll leave you with our narrator.
Bitcoin emerged as an idea in 2008 and as a running system in 2009. In August 2008, the domain bitcoin.org was registered. Then, on October 31, 2008, a 9-page white paper appeared online, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It proposed something radical, value transfer without banks, without trusted middlemen, without permission. On January 3, 2009, the network went live with the Genesis block. Inside it was a message pulled from a newspaper headline. The Times, 03/Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. A quiet line, loud meaning. Not just technology, a response to bailouts, to trust, to the feeling that money was rigged. On January 12, 2009, the first Bitcoin transaction occurred. Satoshi sent 10 BTC to cryptographer Hal Finney. Bitcoin was now real, and yet the creator remained unknown. Bitcoin was created by a person or a group using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. They wrote the white paper, shipped the code, mined early blocks, communicated online, and around 2011, disappeared. No identity, no final statement, just silence. And that silence became fuel for everything that followed. So how is Bitcoin produced? Through mining, using proof of work. Miners compete to solve a cryptographic puzzle. The first to solve it earns the right to add a block of transactions to the blockchain and receives a reward in newly minted Bitcoin, plus transaction fees. That reward shrinks over time through halvings, roughly every 4 years. It began at 50 BTC per block, then dropped 25, 12.5, 6.25, and after April 2024, 3.125 BTC. This matters because Bitcoin has a hard cap, 21 million. That cap is the foundation of Bitcoin's scarcity narrative. But mining is not just how coins are created, it's how the system defends itself. Because rewriting history would require redoing the work at massive cost. Now, how is the record maintained? Bitcoin uses a public blockchain maintained by thousands of nodes. Balances aren't stored like bank accounts. Bitcoin tracks unspent outputs called UTXOs. To spend, you prove ownership with a digital signature using a private key. If you control the private key, you control the Bitcoin. Here's the twist. Bitcoin is public. Every transaction is visible forever. So why did criminals ever believe it was untraceable? We're going there next. Bitcoin's popularity didn't explode overnight. In 2010, Bitcoin bought something real. 2 pizzas, 10,000 BTC. Then, in 2011, Bitcoin entered a darker spotlight, Silk Road. Suddenly, the world said Bitcoin equals crime. But here's the key. Bitcoin is not anonymous. It is pseudonymous. Addresses are not names, but the trail is permanent. Investigators can follow flows, identify exchange on-ramps and off-ramps, and connect wallets to real identities when KYC is involved. Criminals try to hide trails using mixers, tumblers, and CoinJoin-style methods, but the public ledger makes many cases traceable.
Bitcoin can be used for illicit finance, but it can also produce evidence.
Bitcoin then moved through cycles. 2013, a major bubble and early regulatory responses. 2014, Mt. Gox collapsed, exposing counterparty risk. The lesson? Not your keys, not your coins. 2017, mainstream mania. Bitcoin surged near 20,000, ICOs exploded, and enforcement intensified. March 2020, pandemic crash, then a powerful recovery as liquidity returned, and then a new era, institutional adoption. Companies began adding Bitcoin to treasuries, custody matured. Finally, in January 2024, spot Bitcoin ETFs were approved in the U.S., bringing Bitcoin exposure to traditional brokerage accounts. Bitcoin wasn't just internet culture anymore. It had entered regulated financial infrastructure. But the real story isn't price. The real story is power. What happens when money exists outside the system, and what governments do next? Does Bitcoin threaten the economic system? Potentially, because it can reduce control over capital movement, tax enforcement, and monetary policy transmission. But the threat depends on adoption and regulation. Now, can authorities seize Bitcoin at will? Not at the protocol level, not from self-custody without keys, but in practice, many people use exchanges and custodians, and those can be frozen or seized through legal processes. How is Bitcoin converted to fiat? Mostly through exchanges, OTC desks, ATMs, or peer-to-peer markets, and most of those rails touch compliance. Meanwhile, governments are building their own digital money, CBDCs, digital cash but centrally issued, designed to preserve monetary sovereignty in a world of stablecoins and crypto. Now comes the scary question. Can Bitcoin be zeroed out in a technological war? The answer is surprising and not comforting. Could Bitcoin accounts be erased? A global reset is extremely unlikely because the ledger is replicated worldwide, but disruption is possible. A powerful adversary could attempt a 51% attack to reorganize or censor transactions temporarily. They could pressure miners, attack network routing, isolate nodes, or target exchanges and infrastructure. Internet outages can pause activity in regions, but ownership doesn't disappear. Private keys can be stored offline. Then there's the long-term fear, quantum computing. Quantum-capable attacks on signatures are not a proven immediate reality, but if the threat becomes real, Bitcoin would need difficult, coordinated upgrades to quantum-resistant cryptography. So the honest answer is, Bitcoin is hard to erase, but not impossible to disrupt. Let's clear the fog. Bitcoin is not completely anonymous, it's pseudonymous. Transactions are not inherently untraceable. The ledger is public. Governments can't magically seize self-custody, but they can seize custodial accounts. Bitcoin's value is not backed by nothing. It emerges from scarcity, security, and network effects. Now, conspiracies. Because Bitcoin's creator vanished, myths filled the gap. CIA built it. NSA built it. Satoshi is AI. Quantum already broke it. There's no evidence for those claims. But conspiracy thrives when systems feel unfair. Bitcoin became a symbol, freedom to some, chaos to others. And that symbolic power is part of why it refuses to die. Before we end, I'll answer the question everyone asks secretly. Who holds the most Bitcoin, and who actually got rich from it? Who holds the most Bitcoin? The largest presumed holder is Satoshi Nakamoto, estimated around 1.1 million BTC from early mining. Then come large custodians and institutions, exchanges, ETFs, funds, corporate treasuries, and governments, often through seized assets. Who got rich? Two groups: early believers who accumulated Bitcoin directly, and builders who created infrastructure, exchanges, custody, payments,
mining, and the wider ecosystem. So what is Bitcoin really? It's code plus incentives plus belief, a decentralized monetary network with a fixed supply schedule, a financial asset, a political statement, a cultural event, and its future is still open, shaped by regulation, macro cycles, technology, and human trust. Bitcoin isn't the end of the story, it's the opening scene. And here's the final truth. Bitcoin doesn't need you to believe in it, but it absolutely depends on whether the world continues to.